So, welcome to today's class on data science. So, in our previous class, please, in case you are just joining us and you've not watched the previous video, please kindly ensure you watch the video so that you understand what you are doing. Because every new concept you are going to be learning, you always build on the previous thing you learned. So, in our previous class, I introduced you guys to different data type in Python. We talked about string, we talked about integer, floating point numbers, we talked about Boolean and the rest. So just for a recap, I said anything that you enclose in quotation mark is known as a string in Python. And you could use single quote or you can use double quote as well. It's just that if you are picking any of them, just be consistent with it. So you can't use a single opening quote and you use a double closing quote. So if you are using quotation mark, you just be consistent. So if you are using something like this, you just have to make sure that the opening and the closing quotation mark, they are double quote, or you could do something like this. Either of them can work for you. Then I also said if you are going to combine different data type in Python, take note of the keyword different data type in Python, you are going to run into a type error. For instance, let me define a variable. Let me say your age is equals to 23. I'll store that and I'll say, let me say your height. For instance, your height is I'm just assuming let's just assume 6.8, for instance, and I want to do something like this. I want to carry out a arithmetic operation. I could say your age plus your height, and I'm going to get 29.8, which is the summation of the age and the height here. But what if we are in a situation where, let's say, let me define another data type. In this case, it's a string. Let me say color. I could say blue. I'll click on enter to store that. Don't forget, I said there are different data types, and in our last class, I made mention of integer, example of integer, which is 23, the example of a floating point number, 6.8, and this here, the color blue, this is a string. And I said, if you are trying to combine different data type, you may run into an error. For instance, now, this age here, 23 and 6.8, they are different data type, but there's what is known as implicit conversion in Python. Implicit conversion simply means that the Python programming language is going to convert your data type to become one by not telling it to do so. So it's automatically, it will do it for you. Age here, in this case, is 23, which is an integer. The height here is 6.8, and it's a floating point number. But you assume that, okay, since there are different data types, they are not supposed to work. But don't forget that I could as well write this age. Age is also equals to 23.0. It's still the same thing. 23.0 and 23 is basically the same thing. You understand? And if I should store that, and I also see age here plus what? Height here. I'm going to get 29.8. But that's for working with integer and floating point number. But you can't combine an integer or a floating point number. You can't do arithmetic operation using a floating point number or integer in addition to a string. You can't do something like this. Age, for instance, plus color. You understand? It won't work because they are of different data type. That's why you're seeing this error here. It's a type error. Why? Because you are trying to combine age, which is an integer, and a color, which is a string. It won't work. You understand? So I'm just trying to refresh your memory of what we did in our last class. And also, Python variables, they are case sensitive. I said variable, they are used to store value. So instead of, let's say you want to carry out a Python operation, or you want to write a complex code that requires you every time you want to like recall on a number, instead of you typing down number, you can just store the number on a variable. You give it a variable name, age in this case, age is equals to 33. And I said a variable is made up of 3 parts: a variable name, And I also gave you rules for writing a variable name. I'm not going to say that in this class because I've already said everything about naming rules for variables. So watch the previous video to learn about that. I said a variable is made up of 3 parts: the variable name, the assignment operator, in this case, which is equal to, and also the value for the variable, which can take on different data type, either an integer, a string, a floating point number, a Boolean, depend as the case may be. So I said a variable is case sensitive. Age, yeah, case sensitive means if I'm using uppercase, that is capital letter all through, I should be consistent with it. If I'm using lowercase, a small letter all through, I should be consistent. If I'm using title case, that's the first letter of the variable should be up, it should be capital letter, then the remainder should be a smaller letter. Just be consistent with it, but just know that age here, small letter AG equals to 23. I click on enter. Is different from capital letter AGE. They are two different things. There's nothing here because I've not stored anything using age. So let's do something like that. Let me use, for instance, age. Let me assume any age. Age is equals to maybe 30. Then let me just give another age. Let me say for a older person, age is equals to 70. So if I should call on the smaller one here, the first variable with lowercase age equals to, if I should call on capital letter AGE, I'm going to get 70. So also take note of that. Variables are case sensitive. If you are using small letter, be consistent with it. If you are using capital letter, also be consistent with it. So that's also a refresher on what we did in our last class. So today, what I'm going to be teaching on is arithmetic operators. Just the way you have different operator like logical operator and the rest, which I'm going to teach in later part of this 300 days of code bootcamp. But today we are strictly focusing on arithmetic operator. So your normal, let's say mathematics, the calculation and computation you usually do. You already know how to carry out a mathematical operation like summation, multiplication, and the rest. But I'm going to be showing you guys how you are going to do it in Python. So let me just spin up a calculator here, for instance. Let's say 8, for instance, plus 8 is 16. 8 here plus 8 is equal to 16. But this is calculator. What we are doing right now, we are focusing on Python programming language. So I'm going to be showing you guys how you can do that. If you notice, we already did arithmetic operator here, arithmetic operation here, when we combine the age and the height. So the first one is addition. If you want to add data types that are compatible, you use the plus sign. So wherever the plus sign is located on your keyboard, look for it and do it like this. So let's say I could say 23 plus 45. I click on enter, it's going to give me the sum. So as time goes on, there will be a time where you want to like sum data types in Python, or you want to carry out computational operation in Python. So for you to carry out addition, you use the plus operator or the cross sign, depending on what you call it. But just know that this sign here, this plus here, is strictly for addition in Python. Then the second thing, arithmetic operator we are going to be talking about is the subtraction operator. So for you to do that, you just need the dash, or what some people call hyphen, in your keyboard. So let's say 45 minus 23. If I should click on enter, I'm going to see 22. So don't forget, let's say you could also carry out arithmetic or subtraction or any particular operator using a variable. So I could say something like this. Recall we stored a value for the age, which was equal to 30. And we also stored a value for height, which was equal to 6.8. So I could say age here minus height, and I'm going to get 23.2. These are the building blocks. These are the basis for programming. Any complex thing you are going to do, these are the basic, and also they are the building block. So don't rack your head and you want to feel, and you feel that you need to know a whole lot of stuff. Every complex code that is written out there, if you should break it down, these are the building block. So I'm spending my time to explain the building block for you guys, so that when you see complex problem, you will not like be afraid, or you already know what to do. And trust me, 100% of the time, forget about what you see in movies or where you want some persons tell you that programming is just carry your laptop and start working from start to finish. You see, if, for example, now it takes you like 10 hours to carry out a particular programming task, 70 to 80% of the time is all about thinking. You are thinking, then the remaining 30% or 20% of the time is when you have to do the actual coding. So what you see in movie, those are wrong. Like when you see a movie, you just see some persons typing random shit like something like this, just be doing, and you just feel that's not how programming work. You have to think first before you implement. That's how it works. Thinking first. Thinking will take a whole lot of your time. Why? You are trying to think before you implement, because you can't implement what you have not like thought out, you understand? So you just have to think. So the next arithmetic operator we'll be talking about is what? The multiplication. So for you to do that, I could say, if I want to say normal in arithmetic, you say, let's say you want to carry out like maybe 4 multiplied by 8, or what some people call 4 times 8. All you just need to do is to do 4, then you look for the asterisk sign there, or what you call star, or any name you call it. 4 multiplied by 4, then you are going to get 16, what you call 4 times 4. Yes, but so look for this particular symbol on your laptop or your PC, and that's how you do multiplication. And don't forget, every arithmetic operation you are doing, you could also do that with a variable. So I could say age here multiply, sorry, pardon my typo. I could say age here multiplied by what? Height, which is what? 23 multiplied by 6.8. I'm going to get 204. I'm going to get 204.0. So make sure you practice what I'm teaching you. Then another arithmetic operator is called division. So let's say 80 divided by 8. It means how many times can 8 go into 80. So for you to do that, you just need to do this 80. Then you look for this / symbol or / sign on your keyboard, 80 divided by 8, and you're going to get 10.0. You understand? So what you do, your normal calculator, your phone, 80 divided by 8. So there are some times whereby you need to carry out maybe computation that requires you to carry out division or division operation on your script or your source code or your Python program. You just need to know how to, because these are the building blocks when you want to do carry out calculation on your script as well. So there's also what we know as raised to power. Let's say 2 raised to power 2. 2 raised to power 2 means 2 to itself, like 2 multiplied by 2 twice. So let's say for you to carry out 2 raised to power 2, instead of using the asterisk symbol, you are going to infuse the asterisk symbol twice. So 2, then asterisk symbol twice raised to power 2. That's how you impute 2 raised to power 2. So let's say 2 raised to power 2 is equal to 4. That is 2 times 2, which is 4. 2 raised to power 3 means 2 multiplied by itself 3 times. So 2 here raised to power 3, it means 2 times 2 times 2. So 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8. So that's how we got 8. So know the difference between multiplication. But in multiplication, you use just one asterisk sign. Then in if you are trying to raise a number to a power of another number, you use the asterisk sign twice. So don't forget. Then also sometimes if you want to carry out square roots, there's, for those that are good with mathematics, or for those that can recall, I could do something like this. I could say 2, let's say, let me just say, I could do something like this, 16, then 2 asterisk sign, then in brackets, I'm going to put 1/2 here. What can you see here? You are seeing 4. And let me just roll up something. Let me show you guys something. So let me just refresh your memory when it comes to mathematics. What I did before, you recall that this particular expression here is the same thing as, it's the same thing as 16 raised to the power of 1/2. And according to law of indices and logarithm, if you can recall, this can also be written as square root of 16. And also square root of 16 is what? So you know the answer already. So if you want to carry out in Python, for you to do that, you say 16, then 2 asterisk sign. Then don't forget in brackets 1/2. I'm trying to refresh your memory on indices and logarithm. So for you to do that in Python, for you to write this, because there is no sign for you to do square root of 16, it's just 16 raised to the power of 1/2, which can also be written as, you can also do it, say like write it in this way, but there's no point for that. Just know that the square root there represents 1/2 there. So that's all for that. So I'm just trying to refresh your memory on that. So then also there are some times whereby you want to carry out division, but you don't need the remainder. For instance, now I could say 9/8, yeah, and if you give me a floating point number, in this case 1.125, but if you don't want the remainder and you just want only the integer part, in this case 1, but you don't need the 0.125, how can you do that? So you do something like this, then you impute the / twice. So 9/8 is going to give me 1. So instead of including the 0.125, just use 9, then / twice, then 8. So know the difference between this and this. When you do 9/8 with single / it will give you the number and the remainder. But if you do 9 / 8, yeah, it will give you just your number. There's something called modulus. Modulus in mathematics, modulus just means absolute value, no remainder. So modulus of 9.5, it's 9. It means you are removing the remainder. You don't need the remainder. Just give me the absolute value, the whole number. Then also, if I could get the integer, what if in a situation whereby I need the remainder? So how will you do that? So you do 9 here, then you add your percentage symbol. Yes, percent, then 9. And I'm going to get, I'm coming. Let me do something. Let me just look for a more realistic value here. 87 divided by 8, 10.5. I think because it's rounding it up to 1. Let me look for something else. 7 divided by 3. No. Let me say 1.7. I'm looking for a more realistic value. I don't know, it's rounding it up to 1. So if I want to get the remainder, instead of getting the absolute value, you just need to add the percentage here, divide by 1.7. So as you can see here, it's giving me the remainder here. 87 divided by 1.7. If you use the percentage symbol, it's going to give you the remainder. You understand? So if you need the whole value, that is the number, the integer plus the remainder, you just need to use a single /. But if you use double /, it's going to give you the integer value and it will ignore the remainder. But if you want to get the remainder and you don't need the absolute value, you use a percentage sign and it's going to give you the remainder of your computation. So that's all for today's class. So I hope I've been able to explain the basics of using arithmetic operator in Python. So is that you are using addition operator, subtraction, multiplication, that are using just one asterisk sign, or if you are using 2, it means you are raising a number to the power of another number. You use 2 asterisk sign. Then also, I also said 16 raised to a power of bracket 1/2 is the same thing as saying the square root of 16. And square root of 16 is equals to what? 4, meaning 4 multiplied by itself. So 4 times 4 here is 16. So I'll unmute you guys now. So just in case you have any question, you can ask. So that will be all for today's class. So let me unmute you guys. So just in case you have a question, please do well to ask me. And don't forget to practice everything you want. So if you have any question, please unmute yourself and ask me.
Good evening. Okay.
Okay, good evening. One person at a time, please. Okay.
Do they have negative numbers? Like, can you do 2 minus 5?
2 what?
2 minus 5.
Okay. How do you mean? Are you saying something like this? Minus 5?
Like, okay, I wanted to confirm if the Python can give you negative numbers.
Yes. A negative number is a number. in normal arithmetic. It's a number. It's just that it is on the negative number line. If you recall your number line in primary school, whereby you have 0, then to the right of 0, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why to the left of 1, you have negative number that is -1, -2. They are all numbers, just that there are different categories of number, the positive integers and the negative integers. So it's a valid number. You could do an operation and to give you a negative. Yes, very possible. So I hope I'm clear on that.
Yes.
Okay. So any other person?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, I have a question. Okay, now for the case of a square root, let's say you have a square root and the number is supposed to give you a floating point number.
Okay.
So if you apply the normal rule to get just the integer, will it work?
Yes, it will work. There's what we call data conversion in Python. I've not gotten there yet, but there's a way for you to convert an integer to a float and a float to an integer. You understand? But I'm just for this class, I'm just introducing arithmetic operators in Python. So maybe the next class or the next 2 class, I'm going to cover all those aspects. But it's a good question you asked. But just know that there's what we call data type conversion, whereby you can convert one data type to another. Let's say, for instance, now this is 4, yeah, which is an integer. Can you see the screen, right?
Yes, I can.
Then I could convert that 4 to a floating point number by doing something like this, float. Then I'll say 4. So I'll get 4.0. Can you see that?
Yes.
So I was not supposed to introduce this for this class, but since you asked, you could convert one data type to another. Then also, instead of 4.0, you could convert from an integer, from a floating point number to an integer. In this case, I want to convert 4.0 to an integer, which is a whole number. I could just say int, use the keyword int, and you put 4.0, and it's going to give you 4. You understand? But that's not for this class. So I hope I'm clear on that.
Yeah.
All right. So is there another person that have any question? Please, if you have a question, please do it to ask. So let me call on somebody. Uche, are you there with us? Please unmute yourself and let's interact.
Okay. I've asked initially about if the Python can give negative numbers like 2 minus 5, and you answered that.
Okay, no problem. No problem. Let me look for somebody else. Kingsley Achi, I think it was the first person on the Zoom call. Yes, it was punctual. Kingsley Achi, please unmute yourself.
Okay. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. How are you doing?
I'm actually walking on the road, so
okay.
I'm trying my best to
follow up. Let us not distract you. So hope you are following up for the classes.
Yes. I was able to grab 1 or 2, sure.
All right, that's great. That's good. So
thank you.
That will be all for today's class. So make sure you study everything I've taught you and practice. Don't use it, you lose it. Use it or lose it. So that's the motto. And see you guys on I think Thursday, which is our next class. So have a lovely day. Bye-bye.